Oh, man.
What is this right here?
Oh,
What is that?
was
Volleyball. That's
again.
Repeat. Morning, everyone.
Oh, yeah, I know, man.
We're going to go ahead and call to order. Hey, gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and call to order the November 15th, 2018 Board of Supervisors meeting. As always, we'll start with an invocation. If everyone will pray with me, please. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings and opportunities you provide us each and every day. A special blessing to these young ladies who have worked hard this past season to achieve the accomplishment, but always remember their work is your work on the front end. Ask them to be with the front end first responders and those out in California as they work through the tragedy out there as well. We ask that you help guide this board today as we make decisions on behalf of the county as well as other municipalities and counties as they reach the same decisions as well. We ask these things in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. I want to welcome everyone. We're going to start off with public comments and recognition. This has always been a big highlight for me. We get to recognize the Brandon High School girls volleyball team. When you hear the word repeat and the word consecutive, you always get excited, and so we're extremely proud to have you ladies here with us, Coach Walker and Coach Aldridge, as well as the team. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Slay. He's got a few comments.
If it is acceptable to the board, we've got a resolution this morning that commends and congratulates the Brandon High School volleyball team on winning back-to-back state championships in volleyball. They won 2017 state championship last year, and they managed to repeat that almost in identical fashion. I think the resolution describes some of it. Coach Walker, you'll come forward, and also I would like your assistant coaches as well to come forward. Let me make sure I got them here. Ms. Aldridge, Austin Baum, and Taylor Huey. Y'all here today? Okay, just very good. Well, congratulations to you guys. For sure, this is exciting times for us. I'm going to read this resolution. Ladies, I'm going to try not to butcher your names. We have all your names here, at least I hope we do. And so I'm going to try not to butcher your names. If you recognize your name when I call it out, come forward and join your coaches up here, okay? Whereas the Brandon High School volleyball team followed up its 2017 state championship season by winning the 2018 Mississippi High School Athletic Association state championship, defeating DeSoto Central in straight sets during the title match that was held at the University of Mississippi. And whereas the Bulldogs impressively cruised through the playoffs again, winning 12 straight sets and defeating Biloxi in the first round, Ocean Springs in the second round, Madison Central in the semifinals, and then DeSoto Central in the finals, while finishing the season with an impressive overall record of 34 wins and 7 losses. Whereas the most important statistic, guys, listen to this, the most important statistic compiled by the Bulldogs is the team's combined high school grade point average, which stands at 3.75 out of 4. And so, ladies, congratulations on the academic achievement as well. Of course, the Bulldogs are led by head coach Kelsey Walker, and the assistant coaches are Mallory Aldridge, Austin Baum, and Taylor Huey. And the administration of Brandon High School is to be commended for its outstanding commitment to both academic and athletic success. Here we go, ladies. Whereas the members of the 2018 Brandon High School volleyball team are Kate Bass, Callie Minshew, Kennedy Jordan, LaShundria Chapman, get that right, Gabby Padilla, Kylie Nations, Daisha Arrington, Janai Mason, Phoebe Garrett, Olivia Stegall, Alyssa Rader, Brianna Shivers, Jolie Gibson, Jordan Sullivan, Natalie Bartholomew, James Bass, did I get that right? All right. Rachel Stegall, Sonny Shepard, and Hannah Reed. All right, did I get everybody? Super. Therefore, it is now resolved by the Board of Supervisors that we do hereby commend and congratulate the members of the Brandon High School volleyball team, the coaching staff, the administrative leadership for back-to-back championship seasons. And on behalf of all of the citizens of Rankin County, ladies, we extend our heartfelt wishes for continued success on and off the court. We got an original resolution that goes with Coach Walker back to the school. We are so proud of you ladies, back-to-back champions. Congratulations.
I think it's worth mentioning, Coach, if you'll share with the group who the 3 ladies who are going on to college for the scholarships.
Yes, yesterday we had National Signing Day, and this is the first time we have had this many girls go. We had not 1, not 2, but 3 young ladies. Kate Bass will be going to Mississippi College next year. Callie Minchie will be going to Mississippi State. And LaShundria Chapman will be going to Alcorn State. Y'all kind of wave. This is
Thank y'all, ladies. We were very proud of y'all. Appreciate it.
Great job.
No, you're
Good job
welcome.
for school,
And
too.
we want to say a big thank you to the parents out there too, because they know they wouldn't be here without the help of the parents and the family
But, hey, I want
support.
to say one thing, just not to the seniors, but to the other classmen that are here. I'm a Northwest Rankin guy, so if you don't mind, let us squeak in a couple games. You were kind of rough on us this year, so just, you can beat us, just let us squeak a game or two in.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all.
Thank y'all. Proud of you.
Congratulations again.
Hey, you heard anything from JH and H?
They're here.
They're here?
They're here.
I think once a couple of judges were walking over to see if they were finishers on time or whatever.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You can say what you want. They're not on schedule.
Although they say they are.
Yeah, you can say that.
All right, Mr. Warren, Mr. Megason, come on up.
They played,
I just
you
didn't
know,
see
their
you.
last
Yeah, he's sitting
game
on
of
the
the
back
year,
and right.
Brandon
Right
beat
behind him.
We don't root your back.
As
You can't see him, big boy.
We don't have anything near as exciting as that either.
He's covered him up.
How you doing? Good, good.
Oh, boy, some more
Thank you, sir.
paper reading work. Yeah.
Paul, how you doing, man? Good to see you, brother.
Love these charts here. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Gotta make it easy.
Well, there you are. All right. I thought I'd come meet you on Lucky Road. I did the same thing I did last time. The first page is a loose page, and that's the nuts and bolts of it. That's what you guys all want to see. And this should be kind of short and sweet. We're talking about 2 different lines, more or less. The public officials liability, same more or less as directors and officers. This is you guys' coverage. Had it with the same company. It's really all combined. This is all a package type program together. But if you'll look and see the quote here highlighted in yellow, the premium hasn't changed a whole lot through the past 4 years. We did data back 15 and 16 through the current. And how this is, and if you'll look down about where it's not highlighted, where it says the average rate, it's actually reduced than where it was last year. And where the premium arises from is the annual budget expenditures. And you can tell that that's up, and even though that's up, the premium is actually about the same. So that's when your rates drop. The other part deals with the sheriff, the law legal liability. This is the same company that we've been with, and one of the main reasons are naturally they're the most competitive. There is a couple of other that Paul has shopped and looked at, but one of the key components to this is this program is endorsed by the Sheriff's Association. And with that, the dues and things are already in there. We have a great working relationship with them. You know, I believe everybody will agree to that. The premium has gone up a little bit, but if you'll look below that, this actually goes off the employee count. And we got about 20 more employees this year than we did last year. But the actual rate is down. So the rate's down, the exposure's up a little, therefore the premium reflects that. But do you think anything? Do y'all have any questions about?
You know, like Guy said, it's the National Sheriff Sheriff's Association endorsed program. So a couple of benefits we get from that is we get access to a lot of the services that they have, but also the fees that to join the National Sheriff's Association are reduced. So, you know, you could possibly go out and buy another product somewhere else, but it's still gonna belong to the National Sheriff's Association. You'd have to pay more in fees to be in that association.
Good deal.
And that other, little book I got, just kind of a little more, explains a little more that we put together, if y'all wanna look at it.
It's got the claims histories in it,
Oh.
the break.
And if another question comes up, you know to call us, and we'll see whatever.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank y'all, we appreciate it, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Mr. Carl Franco, come join the hot seat, my friend.
I hate to tell you, but I'm on the hot seat constantly. Good morning.
Morning.
I hope that we use updated information today. Get it all together here. On where we stand,
Thank you.
projects ongoing in the county. What you've got there are three parts. The top sheet is a summary. The second part is a spreadsheet on where we are on cost, and the last two pages are schedules and how we got there. Just to begin with, the construction costs you see right there, these are current costs as of today or projected costs. The courthouse is at $19,849,316.87. That does include still the $100,000 contingency, which has not been used. Misdemeanors at $4,317,416.40. The K-9 shelter is still budgeted for $500,000. We're working on that, have been for, it seems like forever, to reduce that price even. So right now, today, the total expenditure is $24,666,733.27. And that does include $126,000 still remaining in the contingency. $100,000 in the courthouse and 26 something in the misdemeanor. Now, today I'd like to present is two change orders, and these figures are included in those numbers I just gave you, so they're not in addition. They're both on the misdemeanor. We need to add a second row of security fencing at the misdemeanor. It's just, that's what you have at the jail right now, and the design only has one. So that's $33,000. That sounds like a lot, but that basically was what the cost of the first row was. I went back and checked. And then the county has requested to add Wi-Fi. It's got internet right now, but it's not Wi-Fi. That's coming. That's $1,200. So we've looked at both these prices. We would recommend that they be added to that. Now, if you want to turn over to that spreadsheet, I can go through there if you like. It's kind of a detailed analysis of how we got to where we got. First page is the courthouse. You can see what's pending. Those figures I gave you earlier still do include the $400,000 of projected items, audio, visual, and the landscaping. We're hoping, if you may remember, those are taken out of the original bid. We're hoping those projects come down less than that. They're finalizing the audio, visual, and the landscaping designs. So we should be putting those out for pricing shortly. But there are that much, $400,000 is budgeted in that figure I just gave you. Right now, we've gone through all the change orders. As you can see on there, there still could be some more change orders we're not anticipating, but right now, we've gone through that. The second page is the misdemeanor in the K-9 facility. And you can see in the light green lines are the additional prices that we're budgeting $50,000 for landscaping. I'm not sure it's going to take that much, and then the two change orders I just mentioned recommended on that. So you can see, really, if you go down to subtotal, we're still, $682,000 under what the original budget figure was. The K-9 facilities, well, I'm just trying, I'm working on that. I'm just working as hard as I can on that to get it down lower. And we've had meetings with the sheriff, so we're on our fourth design of that. We're just going to pre-engineered frame is where we're going with that. We were able to save some money by moving it up into the parking lot. That saved about $100,000 from the dirt and the retaining wall. I don't think there's a flat piece of property in downtown Green. If there is, I haven't found it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so if you go to that third sheet, that's kind of an overall summary of that. And the bottom line is that using a $25 million bond fund balance, counting the contingencies that are still left in the project, that leaves a balance of almost $460,000. Now, that does not include chancery renovation. We started working on some layouts for that. So what we may can do is just say, that $460,000 work backwards. I don't know. That may be the way to go with that. Our concept with the chancery layout, I've got a preliminary concept that nobody's seen yet, is to use existing walls as much as possible. And what we're doing is moving the community planning, 911 addressing, coroner, VA, Veteran Service, Health Department, and Election Commission into those buildings.
Mhm.
Everything but the
Why are we
election-
moving the corner?
He's in the,
Yeah. I mean, we still gonna have to leave that building open, right?
No. Why would we?
Okay.
It'll be
All right.
heated and cooled.
I thought we were.
I think it's gonna be heated and cooled.
Yeah. So,
there's some plans that could be out there for what to do with that space that probably wouldn't include the corner.
all right.
Well, what
I know currently he is separated from everybody else, so.
our initial concept, Joe, just for your information, is to work into the corner to the existing offices, Judge Grant's chamber, without just reusing that basically as it is. Now, it may need some paint. I think the carpet looks new. I've got to go back through there again. So, again, in order to keep cost at a minimum, we're trying to reuse existing walls, and we've met with the users. They have not seen any of this preliminary concept, and I can give you a copy of that if you're interested.
Well, you hadn't said anything about the election commissioners yet.
They're downstairs. I haven't.
You hadn't got to that part?
I haven't looked there yet.
Okay.
But the issue now, as you well know, because of the K-9 facility, anything like this, a renovation project on this scale, the unit costs are going to be very high, just because there's so much work going on there with the school district and the economy and everything else. So what we're trying to do is reuse whatever we can. I've talked to Mr. Jones, Facilities. We think the roof is pretty good. It was put on new after Katrina. The rooftop units, the air conditioning units, some of them are new. There will be some elections that will have to be rearranged, and I don't know about the load. So those areas where you can get into some heavy cost mechanical electric. We'll probably have to shift a little duct around, but if we don't have to buy new units, those costs hopefully will be less. And the bathroom, the public bathroom, probably will have to be enlarged to meet ADA. But that's where we're at on that. Now going down to where we're at as far as schedules on misdemeanor.
Hang on just a second, Carl, real quick, if you don't mind. Do you have another copy of your stuff? Could you hand it to Judge Roberts back behind you? I see where he joined us in the conversation. I know he's here interested more along for the deadline, so he can kind of follow along.
Nobody said I was mad.
I don't know if Carl's mic's on, is it?
I believe so.
I think so.
Turn it on the
The
back.
red button, I like.
I didn't see the light.
Well, you know, I kind of like it.
Look at there.
Now you got, Carl, you're gonna need to start all over now.
I'm at y'all's will. I can be here as long as you want me to be. Do you have any questions about the cost right now before I move on to schedules?
So on the Wi-Fi, have you worked with our IT department?
That's that's, yes, sir.
Okay.
He's,
I think the sheriff's got something on that. Sheriff?
Ken and I got a phone call yesterday. We found out that the metal detectors are not included in any of this, so that's gonna be, Ken has found, ADA compliant Garrett metal detector. They're, $5,800 a piece, so we're gonna need at least 2 of those. We'll have to go ahead and give them the design so they can design the inside, so that's another increase.
So we didn't add metal detector to the building?
No, we did not include it in the furniture package. I wasn't sure if these existing ones are gonna be used or new ones would be done.
Now, the ones that we have, we saw, we can't get parts for.
Yeah.
I thought we
Well, we're
did,
gonna have a bigger
because we were
door
talking about
entrance.
having 2 entrances and what it would cost to have the metal detectors, if both of them are back to one.
I'll double check,
I know
but
we
they're
know
not,
that, but we
they're not
will.
in the construction
Okay.
contract that I'm aware of, and
Don't bring that up again.
I know they're not in
No,
it.
I didn't mean to open I didn't mean to open half of it.
No,
But
there
one of
would,
the
you're,
things we
you're
talked
absolutely
about-
right, though, Steve, there would have been additional requirements
Yeah.
for whoever. But we can, again, we'll include that into the budget, and we can include that, that's, again, we got $126,000 still left in contingencies.
Yeah,
And then, I'm not trying to spend it all.
yeah. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Any other,
We're getting there.
So how are we on
yeah,
our
we're getting there,
timeline?
'cause, any questions about the cost? Any other questions about cost?
How are we on our timeline?
Well, that's what I'm getting ready to go. I've got, and I can go over in detail because I have a breakout of each one of the courthouse and misdemeanor. But right now, in the misdemeanor, they're actually a little bit ahead of schedule. Their latest, we're thinking they're going to be through in June or July. Their schedule right now that they showed us yesterday is showing April or May, but we're continuously still getting rain, so I anticipate that being
Yeah, no
extended.
way.
Well,
That's
that's
the
what they're,
misdemeanor facility's talking about, that's not the detail like the courthouse is going to be. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, that's right, it's simpler. And the other thing
Oh,
that
you're
helped
talking
them
about
out,
this, man.
That's what he's
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, right.
what helped them out was they got all the rough pad, all that dirt in before they even bid the project, so that gave them like a 3-month head start. But once they get the roof on, which they just about got on, it's paint for the most part, in doors and things of that nature. The courthouse is, right now, anticipate, their schedule shows June of 2019. That's behind schedule. I can go over that in a little bit more detail in a minute. The K-9 facility, right now, we're still working it as a change order, but if we can't get the price down, we'll have to, I assume, put it out for bids. But we're still looking at that. That won't take long to build. We're still looking at July of next year. So we're looking at basically the courthouse, the misdemeanor, and the K-9 all being through June or July next year. Now, the Chancery renovation, we can complete the design fairly quickly in the construction drawings, January, February, but obviously we can't start construction until we get the courthouse open and then move them out of there. So we're saying October of 2019 it would be finished. It shouldn't take that long to do it. But in the meantime, we could bid it, say in April or so, let them go ahead and start getting shop drawings and any materials and be ready to roll as soon as they move out of the existing Chancery. So that's where we're at on schedules. Now let me go a little bit more detail on the schedules themselves. Beginning with the easy one, the misdemeanor. They were issued a notice to proceed January 8th of this year. 400 days construction time, that hasn't been changed except the change orders. And one of those had to do with adding the security. They've been approved for 58 rain days. There's actually been 111 rain days. And what a rain day is, according to the specifications, is rain, a significant amount of rain, usually over between 1/10 and 1/2 of an inch. What we do, the reason why there's a difference there, what's been approved and what's actual, in our specifications, we typically check with the National Weather Service, and we include what the normal amount of rain is for each month. So and we include that into the specifications and tell them the contractor they have to include that in their bid. But what's happened this year and last year is obviously we've had abnormal amounts of rain. So that's why there's a difference of actual rain days of 111 versus 58 since they started. But they're still on schedule. As I say, their schedule right now shows them actually being ahead of time. But that project, as I mentioned, one thing that helped them is we already had most of the dirt work in before they ever started. They still have been hammered on rain. Courthouse is a different matter. They were issued notice to proceed May 1st, 2017. They were specified 500 days. They actually gave the county a $45,000 credit to extend that 90 days. So they would do 590 days, and since then, they've experienced, well, let's see, 141 days of rain. That's what's been approved. They've actually experienced 175 days of rain. So there's a difference there of rain. Now there's a couple of things of why they're behind. They're actually behind by almost 2 months of approved time. It's kind of a culmination of things. One is an extremely complex project on an extremely difficult site. What kind of compounds that is if you've seen it, and this is why we were able to work with Mr. Mean on the dirt. It's a lot of sandy clay dirt. When it rains, that dirt all washes down because it doesn't hold together. So that's been an issue on some things. They have worked pretty diligently, in our opinion, to get the project finished. They have staffed it well. Every time we've been out there, they've had some things happen, like the city main broke up there. That cost them a couple of weeks because the day it broke, they were intending to pour a slab, and it flooded all down in there. And of course, they had to rework all that. It's a unique structure in that it's got a composite steel second floor, which takes a little bit longer. Now, the steel sub actually underestimated time it'd take to do the steel. It took them 3 weeks longer. A lot of that had to do with welding. You may be familiar with that, Jared. The moment welding connections, the whole thing is a rigid connection. And that took some time. But we've been meeting with them now for the last 6 weeks. They've actually started meeting with their subs each week in order to get them to make sure that they're moving forward and there's no delays. And we've been meeting with them. Our people have been meeting with them to make sure that we expedite the process if they have any questions. So it's been a difficult project, but we've been to this point, and I'll give you a caveat on that. To this point, we think they've done a good job of staffing it and the quality of work. Now, they lost some time when they moved some of that dirt, 30,000 yards, over to the misdemeanor. That took some time. But that saved the county $300,000.
All that had to move the dirt anyway.
But we did plan that at the beginning.
Actually, they were going to have to move it anyway, so that actually helped them because they didn't have to move it as far.
Well, it did, but if we would have had to put that dirt if we would have gotten the contractor doing the misdemeanor to do the dirt, it would have been $10 a yard more.
I understand that. I'm just saying as far as time to move it.
Yeah.
So that really doesn't factor in there the way I see it, because they had a shorter distance to move, and they had to move it anyway, regardless.
They did, but they had a subcontractor who was going to move it, and they wound up moving it with their own forces to give that $2 a yard price. They had to cancel their they never signed it, but they had their bid. They had a subcontractor bid to move it. And he wasn't really sure he could get out of it, but he wound up doing that. So I know it's behind. Now, we've talked to them about accelerating that, and they're looking at doing that. But until they can get the walls up, they've got the roof just about ready to go. It's hard to get people to accelerate because they can't work. It's raining, and every time they start working on the exterior, it starts raining like this week. So
right.
I'm not trying to. Certainly, I'm not known. I don't want to be known as defending a contractor, but I'm just trying to tell you, in our opinion, based on what we've seen on other projects, and we got some projects right now that are not, contractors are not doing what they need to do. But on the courthouse, I do feel like up to this date, they're making the effort to move forward. It's just a combination of things and trying to get this thing going. It's just a complex project. The foundation was, I think, more complex than they anticipated, but But anyhow, that's where,
But they bid it. and
they
know
did
that,
bid it,
so-
you're absolutely right, they knew that going in.
I appreciate you and what you do and keep us abreast, but so far, everything you've told us, other than the rain, they should have known going in it. They're the bid, I mean, they're the professionals.
You're right, you're right, and, they should, but, you know, sometimes things are just,
And you're talking about the well joints, I'm very familiar with those, but, I mean, if that was going slow, whoever he had hang the steel that provided the welders, and it was going slow, he should, I mean, that's where they should say, hey, have you got more people? Have you, I mean, I deal with it every day like that. So,
you're,
I mean, it's real simple just to say, you got to bring in some more guys, we're behind schedule.
you're right, and we've discussed that with Sam. It's exactly right. Another thing that's kind of throwing in is we've seen on other projects, and we're part of the problem because we're doing the schoolwork. A lot of these contractors of a certain size use the same subs, and they're spread out right now.
Right.
Now, that's
I agree.
that's no excuse. That's just the reality of it right now.
Well, the
So
economy's moving, I
Yeah.
agree with that, but that's
So,
still not.
it's not an excuse. They signed the contract. So you know, they're bound by the contract regardless. But they, now I will say one other thing they did do. They worked with us, and I don't know if it delayed them or not, but when, you know, we redesigned that retaining wall, which was a $200,000 savings, and so they didn't have that up until later. But that, again, that wasn't a scheduling problem as far as I know. It just, anyhow, it took them longer to get that going. So I think to be honest, and again, I'm not defending the contractor, but I think they've made a good effort up to this point, and we're staying on top of them and working with them to let them know, you know, they've got to be through with this, because we can't move the people out of the old chancery and do it till they get through.
Right, right.
It's one or the other, but that's where we're at on the.
I guess what, you know, I'm not through here every day, but a lot of times I come here, there's just not a lot of activity. I mean, you don't see a lot of movement, you don't see a lot of people, and if for something that's behind, whether it's the subs that should be there, the contractor needs to address that with those subs, and you're saying now they are, but when you come by, then you can't see about 3 guys kind of wandering around there, and one guy's on the lull, moving something around. It just doesn't look like, it's hard to see it, progress, I guess what I'm saying.
Well, and you could be I'm sure you're right, Jared. We're out there once or twice a week, so we're not out there every day.
Right.
The days we're out there, they do generally have what they're trying to do done. Now, one thing that we've harped on them about is getting this roof on, because once you get the roof on, then you can do a lot of other things.
Well, certainly.
And they're behind on that.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to really get it on in October was the original schedule, and they didn't meet that date. So, and I don't know the reason for that, but anyhow, our goal is to stay on top of them and emphasize that, and certainly the contract, it's got a certain set time to be finished, and so that's where we're at on that.
Judge, you got any questions? Anything else, gentlemen?
No,
Carl,
I
we
think
appreciate it.
it's obvious, yeah.
Thank you for coming.
All right,
Thanks,
thanks.
Carl. Anybody else for public comments? No? Yeah, all right, we're moving on then. I'll entertain a motion for November 1st and November 5th minutes.
So move.
Move Mr. Morrison, second Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Motion for the consent agenda.
So
Mr.
moved.
Cross, second Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Sullivan, come on up. Blanche, you join him, please.
I have one item on the agenda and one that's not. Petition to change the assessment of 2018 real and personal property assessment roll.
So,
Motion approved, Mr.
second.
Cross, second Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
And we
little
want to bring
scared
you, we want to bring y'all up to date on the aerial photography. The things didn't come in to where we could put it on budget, but Lance has been handling this and the consortium with all the other counties on flying new aerial photography. and he's here to give you some details on it, and I'd like y'all to really consider it.
Good morning, gentlemen. Morning. All right, here's where we stand right now. We have put it out for bid. We have got the bids back. They put me on the committee for selection of a vendor. We had a meeting at Hines Economic Development last week, went through all the vendors, we rated them, scaled them, looked at all their qualifications, looked at where they were outsourcing and offshoring all of their stuff to. We selected a vendor who we will talk with today at 3 o'clock. We have a conference call with him or with that vendor to work out some details on the contract itself. We have a pricing in, and it was not actually of course, the lowest price, but it was the best price for the quality that we know we're going to get out of it. The county, for Rankin County, I think our price was like $54,000. Wow. For 16-inch aerial photography over the whole county. Now, that being said, according to some of the people at the council, NRCS may be contributing money to this to the counties this year in the tune of possibly up to $8,000. So that could knock our price down into the $40-something thousand range for full countywide aerial photography. The vendor that was selected was basically the same vendor that flew our aerial photography in 2013, which we're working with some other companies, Tri-State, that help us with these contracts and make sure that we get the best aerial photography that they have, color-wise and or, making sure there's no cloud cover or anything else that's going to prohibit us from seeing what we need to see. So, y'all have any questions? I mean, like I said, this is still, it's not a done deal until y'all say it's a done deal. We're still in the process of getting everything ironed out until we come down to a final price, and then y'all have to say so on the final price as to whether we enter this consortium with the rest of the counties or whether we all out and go for the next.
Can any one county kick this whole deal to the curb?
No.
How? I guess your pro rata share just kind of ups then if somebody backs out? Is
Yes.
that the way it works?
Yes.
How many counties is it?
12, I believe.
Wow.
They do this every year. I mean, they have a consortium come together every year, and this is probably going to be about one of the last years that, we'll have a statewide coverage. We started this in 2011 with 6 coastal counties. We went in 2013, well, that was 2012. We went in 2013 with about 10 counties. Madison County that went with us on 2013 actually did theirs last year again. So this would be 5 years for us, which if we go in on it will be shot end of February, not exceeding the second week of March of 2019. We have to get everything to leave off.
Tell me, how does this, I guess, using our map viewer, which I love, by the way, and doing Google Earth, how much is the imagery better than what we get from just Google?
If you look at Google Earth typically shoots like the whole county maybe every 3 or 4 years. They will come in and shoot urban areas pretty much every other year. So if you look at Rankin County, City of Brandon, it shows the amphitheater. You go out into the county, you don't see much change out there because they haven't flown it. Like I said, when we do ours countywide, of course, Google doesn't get our photography. Our photography is our photography, except for NRCS and the people that contribute to us that we let have that photography for their contributions. But that's our photography.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Google and Bing, they update occasionally, mostly in urban areas, but every few years they will shoot full county stuff.
Lance, can you expand just a little bit on the importance and what y'all need this for?
Well, with the way we're growing now, just like we said before, these contractors, everybody out, they're building, they're working, we're growing immensely. To have new photography to base all of our calculations for assessment and everything on, it's imperative. Now, do we have to have it every 5 years? No, we do not. It's only required every 10 years for our county with the number of parcels that we have. But the way we're growing, yes, it would be very beneficial for us to have it again.
By updating this, say it costs us 50,000. John, am I thinking right that we catch new things, new development, that helps in our tax base? We grow more than that.
Yes.
The base.
You know, 'cause, I mean,
We're losing money if we're not recognizing.
I won't say we're losing money, but it's another tool
Yeah.
to help.
yeah, put your eyes on
And
it.
Fly County for $54,000.
But I'm thinking, fly the whole county.
Well, in
Especially like
2008,
doing an overlay on the street.
right. In 2008, we shot this photography, and we went in with Madison County. So it was Madison and Rankin County. And we got a fairly good deal at $189,000. Okay. 2013, we shot this county. It cost us about 45 because MDOT put in 10,000 and somebody else put in about 2. USGS put in 2,000 per county. So, you know, we got a little bit better break. You know, this year we're looking at 54-ish, and if NRCS puts in 8, then we're back down in the $40-something thousand range.
And also, we're so good to all the other constituents out here and the municipalities. Y'all could, if you decided to, ask the municipalities
For assistance.
and or architects, engineering firms, things of that nature.
Because everybody benefits.
Engineering firms.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but it's
I'm glad
a benefit.
I'm glad
to
that's
everyone.
recorded, John, thank you.
But it's something that you could
No pressure.
ask if you wanted to.
Yep.
Since we are so
I think you
good,
just
everyone
did.
else too.
I think you just did.
So,
Even attorneys may like it.
All right, anything else for these guys?
I caught that you said we didn't budget this.
No, we didn't have the information.
To know what to budget for. You know, we, like I said, we just got the cost figures in last week.
And of course, we start the budget in July.
And when would they potentially do this?
End of February of 2019.
They're gonna do when all the foliage is.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But
All right.
Any other questions?
Just think about it.
When do we need to approve it?
I'll know better today after I get off the conference call at 3 o'clock.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Good deal. Thank you, gentlemen, we appreciate it. Ms. Bridget?
Please, it's gonna be a long day. Health insurance people here.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have one item this morning. I'm requesting approval of a 6-month extension on our current pest control contract with Pro Maintenance Pest Control.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Bishop.
Second.
Second, Mr. Morrison. Any discussion?
I have a question. How many years is this 6 months? Keep going 6 months, 6 months?
It was actually time to go out for RFPs this December, but because we have so many buildings that are not finished,
Yeah.
we'd like to wait for 6 months and then do it then, so we don't
I
have to
was
do
curious.
an extension.
Yeah,
But we
ma'am.
usually, this was the 3rd year, it was time.
Okay.
But we're gonna do them next summer after we have the new buildings, so we can have the,
Right.
knock off the mold and
Okay.
add those to them.
Okay, all right, that's all, I was just curious.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Harrison?
Good morning.
Morning.
I take A and B AT&T utility permits and get them approved.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Dean, second, Mr. Morrison. Any discussion?
Yeah, I want to say one thing on these utility permits.
Thank you.
It's been a disaster for the last couple months on them, and I'm glad to see none of these are in my area right here. But,
Yeah.
Actually, B is.
Huh?
B
B
is all
is.
these, huh?
Well, let's take B out.
That's gonna be,
That's the majority of them.
that's gonna be Lake Harbor and Harbor Gate right there,
Yeah,
Daniel.
I see it. You're right.
Mhm.
My point is, it's been an absolute disaster on these
all the rain.
contractors coming in, well, not following what their permit says. The problem is what we've had, and I'm not gonna name the name of the company that did it, but they come in, they submit their plans to go in on how they wanna install the fiber, and they don't follow what their plans say. So when they get in there, they just go rogue, and they know they're gonna be in and out by the time,
Somebody catches it.
Right, so the problem is now, this impedes and destroys on our roadways. So they get too close to the roadway. Like, for example, I had a situation over in Palisade subdivision where they come into and they're supposed to be outside the county road right of way is what they submitted to Mike. That's what was approved. They come in and they're immediately on top of the roadway. So they're 6 feet outside of where their permit says, inside our right of way, damaging our infrastructure to our roadways that we just put a new road down in. I've got that happening in Avalon, Palisades. There's probably about 5 or 6 of them where it's happening. So they're going rogue on us on installing this fiber. It's not a big deal to them because after they come in and get out, their stuff's in place and then we got to go back and fix it.
Yeah.
I say that just because here they are back on the schedule.
Okay, well, just take out B.
No, it wouldn't bother me at all because they're not putting any fiber in anywhere in my district in the rural area.
Yeah, right. We're like, what is fiber?
But I say that just so we understand
Yeah.
that I know we've had conversations. I know Mr. Slade's had conversations. We've had AT&T in here.
Right.
They feel like they don't want to necessarily assign a lot of the agreements we've
Are
had.
they subbing to
the problem,
people?
The problem, yeah, they're subbing.
Basically, yeah.
That's right. But the
Where the
subs
problem
come in
I know.
and they go rogue.
But I'm just saying that's where the problem is.
Yeah, well,
There's
but they're-
also
but they're still
another-
But still,
responsible.
I understand,
That's right.
I'm
I
just
think there's
saying.
another twist that's global above us that gives them some type feeling
Yeah.
that they can go anywhere, almost.
And they do.
And
Well,
when
I
they're
can tell you, man,
approved.
down on the coast, several years ago, some of those counties, they've decided to actually assign certain areas in the right of way, depths for certain utilities.
Yeah, so on,
And that's probably why.
well, and we have that on our permit. They're not going to the depth in which we're asking them to go to. They're not going to the location we're asking them to go to. What they're doing is they come out and they get it marked, and then they find the area that there's no
The least
Yeah.
resistant.
Least
where
resistant.
they know they don't have a chance of hitting nothing.
Yeah.
So they find that spot, whether it's in right on our roadway or outside the road right away, and they take that spot, so they don't run any risk.
They're not doing their homework on the front end and doing their locates to see where they at before they draw these permits up. So when they draw them up, they have no clue what's in their way. Yeah, it's just a
I guess
target.
what makes me nervous here on AT&T
Yeah,
is AT&T's what's asking for it. AT&T's not the one I had problems with over the last couple of months. We believe we've called that company in, and we believe that they're trying to work a little bit better and a little bit more friendly to work with. But then again, I don't know what AT&T's going to do. So until we have a conversation with the AT&T folks that they come in and talk to you guys, I'm not for it. And it's just because we can't have them going rogue, destroying our infrastructure, that once they're gone, we got to come back in and pay for it. And I just don't think it's right.
All right, well, what can we do, what can be done on the ones that they've already put it down as far as, since they
Well,
no depth, no
yeah,
distance,
well,
everything.
well, here's a good example of Jared. They come back and Mike asked for, what do you call them, the red lines?
Yeah, the
Basically what's been
as-built.
installed after it's come through, and they don't match up with the permit they put in. So I've got multiple subdivisions now where they go in between, I think what they call the strip between the sidewalk and the road.
beauty strip.
So they call that a beauty strip between the sidewalks and these subdivisions and the roadway. We're not approving anything to be put in there, but that's where they laid it.
That's what I'm saying, what can we do, what can be done? I mean, we put something down somewhere, we'd be having to pull it up.
Right, so,
Since they were permitted to be in a specific location at a specific depth, and we find that they're not there under our permit, we can technically require them to dig it up and relocate.
That's what one of them needs to have to do, and then word will spread
Well,
fast.
But here's the problem.
it's kind of a double-edged sword. when you
Yeah.
do
They
that.
tear our road up the first time.
They really
Probably gonna tear it.
Well, they can be billed for it
We
then.
can bring it out.
So why don't they,
Here-
But then
some-
you fall,
some-
then you fall on
there's
this
certain-
franchise deal that's bigger than us.
I think the other side
Get
of that,
into
that's
some
important,
legalities.
that once we get those red lines back, that we see around, like for example, they get in around these storm boxes, sewer boxes, and they dig in all around those. That's where we have a lot of our failures in our neighborhoods. But now, if we can go back and get those red lines of those documented areas where they say they laid fiber,
Yes.
and we know they laid it, but we've got to keep a record and a track of that. That when that storm box fails because it's not packed back in the right way or
understand.
whatever, we
We
can
call,
go back to them.
we call the utility company.
Slade's gonna
you
have
can
to go work
try,
on
yeah,
those
try
guys.
to get that,
And
try to
again, that'll
get
be
them.
But
2
wait a
years,
minute.
3 years down the road.
How would we really enforce that?
I don't
if
know. I don't.
AT&T's not signing the agreement?
You're not,
you know?
I have no idea
enforcing
how
it's
you
gonna
do
be
it.
hard to do.
They seem to be somewhat responsive when the non-lawyers who are trying to get fiber in the ground are not getting their permit.
Yeah,
They're responsive.
yeah.
They do what we need to do. When it gets to a point, they will eventually ratchet it up to Atlanta and have the silk stocking lawyers firing at us multiple volleys about their rights under the FCC. And so we kind of have to know what our limitations are, but we seem to have a somewhat effective regimen when they need future permits, Jay.
Yep.
That's about the only thing we got. It's the only tool we got.
Well, what you wanna do here? You wanna
Well,
hold up?
we have that situation here right now.
Yeah.
So what I would like to ask is that we have AT&T come in and sit
Yes.
down with Mike and Tim and Slay and get this understanding on the front on what we
Yes.
want.
Yeah.
We still have those red lines that we're taking care of on areas that's been installed on fiber that
Yes.
will tie us up in litigation once those
Yep.
areas start failing and everything else. But
So in
either
other
way,
words, I think for item B, what we would ask is that we pass that until the December 5, is that our date?
Yep.
December 5 meeting, and that'll give us an opportunity, we hope. Start the 3rd, okay.
And,
Or
and,
possibly
and with
December
this
15th.
permit stopping, and they know they gotta talk to you guys,
Yeah.
and you may wanna do A and B. I just, my area's back here for the
Both of
northern
them
part
are
of my
AT&T.
spot. I'd
We're,
rather
we're
have-
okay in there. AT&T takes care of District 3, so we're good to go on
I
A.
think they're targeting me, Bob. I think
Yeah.
they're targeting me.
Yeah, we're-
I agree with you.
I'm good with them.
I'm on a
Okay,
long list.
we'll
I think.
approve
I
A
think
and
I'm
we'll
on a
hold
long
up on B.
list.
Okay.
So, then the motion is to.
We approve A and hold B until we have a
motion to
meeting.
approve
Motion by Mr. Morrison approved, second by myself. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Let the record reflect no action taken on B.
Thank you.
Slay. Is that right? I want to do it that way?
Mr. Parker.
Parker, I'm sorry, Ms. Parker. I'm trying to jump the gun.
I thought we just
Yes, I'll
approved
clarify that
money
when we get up there.
last week.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two items on the agenda. The first one is the Oak Grove Drainage Improvements Project. We're making a recommendation for approval of pay application number 3 in the amount of $461,595.67 to JWDB Construction, Inc., and authority to issue that check.
Mr. Bishop, your pleasure?
Yeah, I make most to approve.
Motion, Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next, please, sir.
Thank you. Next one is Holly Bush Road Improvement Project. We recommend approval of pay request number 6 in the amount of $118,757.13 to Southern Rock LLC and requesting authority to issue that check.
Second.
Motion. I would like a discussion.
Motion, Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Morrison. All right, Steve.
Do we know, close, how long it's gonna be before they start putting the finishing surfaces on there? It looks to me like they're getting, and I know we've had a lot of rain, but.
Yes, sir, but they're getting close on that. For me to give you next week, I can't do that.
I've got like,
Cold weather.
I just
won't
got
allow
a
it.
few people, like 10,000
Sure.
people that wanna know, Steve. when
Just
can we-
10,000.
It's probably not more than 10,000. Okay.
Save it by next year.
I hope so. I told them by Thanksgiving.
You didn't tell them which thing.
It's a little cold.
Well, okay.
Asphalt plants want to open up when it's real cold.
Yeah. All right.
That's true.
There you go. You
Any
can
more
do that one,
discussion?
Steve. That's a good one. You can add that to there.
They don't care.
All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Buster.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Slay. Once Mr. Slay comes up here, I need to make some clarification here. Under number I, it says set public hearing for December 3rd for the Nichols for conditional use. That is actually being done today. We already set that public hearing back at the last meeting. We're having the public hearing today. So I needs to be deleted from the agenda. Does that kind of answer your question, Mr. Slay? And the conditional use is strictly for the Christmas tree farm. The fireworks stand is being removed at this time. We're approving a public hearing set for December 3rd, which will rezone the property, which will make both uses legitimate, not that that's not the right word, but permitted, assuming the approval of the conditional use. Is that right, Ms. No? What?
Once it's rezoned, they'll have to ask for the conditional use.
Yeah, all right, we'll do that same time, though. Yeah, yeah.
But that's why it's listed on here.
That's why I is on there, Bob. It's, there's the one, H is the rezoning,
Hello,
I
so
is the
sorry.
conditional
I guess
use.
that's what I get for thinking. All right, so are you square there, Mr. Slay, of what we are?
Yes, sir, I think so. I just wanted that clarification that we're
approved.
only going to entertain for the purpose of item L under my section.
Right,
We are
that's what-
only going to entertain the Christmas
Christmas tree
tree
law.
request, okay?
So I'll clarify that even more when we get there, but we wanted to heighten your attention to the fact that there's something, in case others are here present, to speak on this or to get clarification on that.
So I think we could take A through A through E together.
Yes, sir. If
Is there a
I can get a motion
to
on
take
A through E.
together?
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Corral, second, Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
And for the record, that was to set public hearings for the matters that are on the docket A through E. Mr. President, if I may get a single motion and second and approval on items F through I, which would be to set public hearings for December 3 at 9 a.m. for the matters that are listed there.
Motion, Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, Mr. Slade, J.
Item J is to set a public hearing for December 14th on our stormwater management program.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion?
Yeah. Well,
Wait a minute.
what is that?
Yeah, wait.
Renee, help me.
Year end, where you ask for public comment, if any citizens have any.
We're not voting on anything else.
Okay.
We're not voting on anything. We're just gonna have.
We're setting a public hearing to
Yeah,
receive
we currently
comments.
don't have one. So that's why I was
I was
asking.
thinking to say, yeah.
We do this every year.
Jay.
Okay. Okay.
We do.
Well, we know where the flooding is.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say the stormwater management.
Yeah.
You know, that means erosion control, you know.
Yeah.
All in favor say
Okay.
aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. K, Mr. Slade.
Yes. So item K will be a public hearing for the Jeff Seabold dimensional variance request at 511 Turtle Lane. This is District 2 property. We'll open that public hearing. Mr. Seabold is seeking a dimensional variance of 10 feet from the required 20-foot rear setback at 511 Turtle Lane. He's proposing to construct a 17 by 11-foot addition to an existing back porch. The application states that the home is sited so that only a small porch addition of less than 3 feet could be added to come within the current setback requirements of 20 feet. And the Pinelands HOA, which has a set of restrictive covenants and addresses issues such as outbuildings and setback requirements, has approved the request for this addition already. This property is zoned R1B. And so that public hearing is open. I'll ask at this time if there's anyone here to speak in the matter in opposition to the Jeff Seabold dimensional variance request. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition to that matter. At this time, we'll close the public hearing and be appropriate to take action.
Yeah, make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Cross to approve it, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. L, please, sir.
Item L is our public hearing on the Roy Nichols conditional use permit, 3962A, Highway 468, this is District 3 property. We'll open that public hearing. Mr. Nichols is seeking a conditional use permit to operate a Christmas tree selling operation and to sell Christmas trees at 3962A, Highway 468. It's a 175.14 acre parcel. It's zoned R1B. The zoning ordinance lists, let's see here, is that going to be a conditional use under the zoning ordinance in A1, A2, C3 districts, Ms. Renee?
No.
Okay.
And that property also, there's a portion of that property that is on agriculture right now. So a portion is R1B and a portion is A1. The Christmas tree lot will be going on the portion that's zoned R1B.
Okay, so this would be a conditional use permit to operate a Christmas tree lot and sales operation on a piece of property that's currently zoned R1B. That's why he's required to have a conditional use permit.
How is it a piece of parcel that's R1B that's not part of a platted subdivision?
That's the way that zoning was in there. There's a this property.
There's a sewer line that runs on the south end of this property in between Noel Daniels' farm and their farm. And there's the sewer on the east side, Cedar Stone.
Cedar Stone.
So it was logical. Now, why, I think the reason they chose to split it, I'm not totally sure, but the other 40 acres on the west side of the mobile home development down there, pretty much all in the floodplain. Is that? I can't remember, but I
Yes,
can't really answer.
it is.
Should be, if
Yeah.
not, but, back in '04, when they did the county-wide zoning, they did the R1B. I'm not,
So,
you go.
oh, no,
you
no,
do
so
your
we,
thing,
we've
I'm
got
sorry.
to, we've got to ask for anyone who wants to speak in opposition. The understanding needs to be that the original request involved a fireworks stand. The fireworks stand is off the table. This is
Right.
just the Christmas tree sales operation, a permitted conditional use. And, Mr. President, you may have conditions that we need to discuss at this time, but I will ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the modified request, which is the Christmas tree sales operations. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition. This time it would be appropriate for us to act on this request and to set appropriate conditions if there are any.
I think the only condition we had discussed is this was only good to the end of this year, 12/31. I think that was the only one. I don't, unless, Mr. Renee, you've got something on operation hours or something like that.
She had given me the hours of operation.
Where is it located?
Down almost across from the entrance to Live Oaks, right before you get to Live Oaks.
It's on a straightaway.
It's on straightaway.
Yeah.
And it's off far enough off the road, it will not be, right, Brian, you've kind of spearheaded off the bars.
Right there,
Cars
close to the fire
coming and
station,
going.
right? Close to the fire station.
Before you get to the fire
Right,
station.
I know, I've seen it.
About a
just
quarter of a
little.
mile, a couple hundred
Is that far?
yards,
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
She says they'll open 11/22, November 22nd, be open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week. It usually lasts 3 to 4 weeks.
I'm good with that, Mr. Slade.
Any other
Second.
questions on that?
Oh.
All right. We'll close that public hearing. It's appropriate to take action.
I make a motion
Hadn't
to
already done
approve.
that.
Second.
Motion by myself, second Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Slade.
Next item is a public hearing on the Rankin County dimensional variance right-of-way acquisition of Andrew Chapel Road Improvement Project. This is the county's initiated action. Rankin County, so we'll open that public hearing. Rankin County is initiating a dimensional variance request for parcels, and I'm not going to list them all. They're all listed here. There's 23 total parcels that are impacted by the Andrew Chapel Road Improvement Project. What's going on here is that this is zoned in such a way that the minimum lot size is 1 acre, and because of the impact of the right-of-way that is being acquired, we have a number of lots, some 23 that have been identified, that are, after the acquisition, are going to actually be less than 1 acre in size. And so we need to act so that the folks have a documented variance that's been approved by the county, and so that's what we're doing here. These 23 parcels originally met the minimum lot size of 1 acre, and then as the county acquires the right-of-way, they will no longer be compliant with that requirement. This variance is being done to provide a permanent record that will attach to the property record so that appraisers, real estate agents, et cetera, will understand the county is permitting these non-conforming uses. And these 23, there may be additionals, but this is the first phase that we want to go through. Variances will be requested as the right-of-way is required. And the planning commission will meet, I'm sorry, that's already been taken care of. So we'll, at this time, I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in the matter of the Rankin County dimensional variance request for Andrew Chapel Road Improvement Project. Anyone speak on that? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak on that matter. We'll close that public hearing. At this time, it'll be appropriate to take action.
Motion by myself to approve.
Second.
Second, Mr. Cross. Any discussion?
I'm just being clear, so they're 1 acre, so since we're gonna take some that have less than an acre, so we're just approving the fact that they can still live on less than an
Yes, sir.
acre.
So when the
got
surveyor goes out and it's 0.94 acres, the bank doesn't immediately say, we're not loaning money to these people. They're not going to get any
That's
improvement
well.
money because it's less than an acre. It's clearly non-compliant.
Yep.
This will document that its non-compliance is as a result of an action by the county, which has already been addressed.
Okay, all right. That's all.
All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, Mr. Slade, anything else?
Item N is a follow-up. This is simply to document what the board has already heard about, and this was a request that initially came from Office of Community Development to remove our workaround for our permit utility ordinance, where we were allowing individuals to submit a home inspection report in lieu of the county conducting a permit inspection. This is a formal action to remove that exception language completely from our permit requirement. So now, everybody just gets a utility inspection from the Office of Community Development. There's no more rigmarole with receiving homeowner-induced inspection reports. It's been a real problem, and this eliminates the problem.
The only issue that I have with it or concern is that we make sure to not hold anybody up, slow them down on getting their power cut on.
Okay.
Do we need to add
What are
that to
the, what are the home inspectors, how are they gonna feel about this?
Well, people are still gonna do it.
Yeah, that's not
But
gonna
I mean, but we still have to go do the filing.
Well,
Yes.
from what I understand, the reason why we're doing this is because our staff is having to go back out there anyway.
Right.
So
I understand.
we're actually doing the work, so, we need to go ahead and just charge everybody.
All right, but, so the home inspector's still gonna do it, they're gonna pay them, then we're gonna have to go back and redo it.
I know if I'm gonna buy a house, I'm gonna get it inspected.
Yeah.
Before I go spend
Right.
that
But not
money.
everybody gonna get a home inspection, because not everybody's buying the house. I mean, that
Right.
renter moving, right?
That's
I mean,
correct.
it's
If somebody
really
passes
catch that
away
group
and it
more
gets
so.
transferred
Yeah.
to an heir, that will trigger an inspection requirement. Here's, I think, the most important aspect is, and Brian may have been the one to address this in the previous meeting, what we're finding is that, if you can believe it, not all home inspectors are addressing all of the life safety issues. And there are
Right.
multiple reasons for that. It doesn't have anything to do with the quality of their work. There are liability issues that can come into play there. And so home inspectors, for their own purposes, may not necessarily be addressing every single life safety issue that we're going to look at. And so for the purposes of the life safety side of the equation, we feel like we need to put a set of eyeballs on it.
Well, it's consistency.
Yes, sir.
Is what I think it is, and
Are you
Yes.
needing action or something to put this on the agenda? or
It's
whatever?
here, and so it's on the agenda for approval of the amendment to our current ordinance to remove this language.
So moved.
Did we just do that? Did I just go through
Well,
that?
yeah, you did.
We just did that. I
There was
just had a
discussion.
correct-
Yeah.
I think so.
We ready to vote on that?
I believe so.
Or did we
Is that
vote
right?
on it?
We ready to vote on it?
Did we?
No, you just.
We didn't get a
Is
second?
there a motion to approve? Huh?
Second.
I didn't have a second.
I
Myself?
don't think it
I'll
was a
do it.
motion to approve. I think Jay still had a couple of questions, what,
If that's
yeah,
what,
all
okay.
right,
Motion by Mr. Morrison,
I guess.
second by myself. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. All right, Ms. Lee, is that it? All right, Ms. Officer, it's all yours.
Thank you. The first item I have is authority to renew our law enforcement liability and our public officials liability with CNA and authority to issue that check.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. B, please, ma'am.
Authority to renew our medical insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield and excess risk as the reinsurance, and that's under our agent, Mickey Watkins. He's here if you have any questions. However, some of this, if you have any detailed questions that would involve HIPAA, it would require executive session.
If we have to talk about any specific employees, we're gonna have to shut it down.
Right.
and go
So
into
this could
executive.
only be general questions about,
Is there a fee increase coming or something?
yes, there was. There was administrative fee and also our reinsurance. Mickey can,
Welcome,
explain
Mr.
it to you.
Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Man, y'all need to start using bigger type.
not unless he's giving them something other than what he, I don't think so. He knows better.
Thank you, Mr. President and Board. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. I did want to go over the health insurance renewal. As usual, what we do every year is we send your reinsurance coverage out to, I sent it out to 7 different carriers this year. I received 3 quotes back. I provided all of those to the county administrator if y'all would like to review them. At the end of the day, y'all had a difficult claim year this year, and they're anticipating an even more difficult claim year this year. So an increase was requested. It was approximately 12% overall, but that was the cheapest of the 3 companies that did quote with the incumbent carrier. And in addition to that, they are requesting some 2 lasers. You know, the county accepts the first $100,000 of responsibility on each covered member under the plan. There's a laser request for $300,000 on an individual, and then $150,000 on an individual. So that means that the county would potentially have up to $250,000 in additional exposure on those 2 individuals.
You had mentioned last year that from a family deductible standpoint, our group has never really pushed that envelope. I mean, is that still the case this past year? That, you know, that we were more the prescription drug side of the equation as far as the money versus the deductible?
Well, it is, but that candidly, and this is again information that we went over. I didn't want to inundate y'all with a lot of information, but I provided all of this to the county administrator. Your prescription drugs have gone up, but this year it's actually primarily due to the fact that a lot of the utilization is on some specialty drugs for certain conditions. And I was having a meeting with another client here yesterday, and I received something recently. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get on, but the number of claims in excess of $1 million has increased with a carrier by 400% over the last 5 years. And you would think that what that means is people are having some serious health problems. It's being pushed really hard by prescription drugs. Some of these drugs for certain items I'm seeing drugs that are running $30,000 a month. Okay. So well, I mean, you know, the president has said he's going to try to address some of that, but, you know, that remains to be seen how that'll do. But your prescription drug utilization is up in response to your question, but, you know, it is due to some of these specialty drugs for those.
And I guess my other question I mean, I think what is our deductible, $1,000 right now?
I believe that is correct. Yes, sir.
You know, we had talked about, you know, potentially going to $1,500 last year, but then you made the comment that very few people ever get outside the deductible, you know, in our group. So really that would be much of a savings to our group, really. Is that still the case? Or?
Statistically, that is still through the end of September. You had 15% of the people who were covered under your plan have met the deductible. About 66% of them have not met any money towards their deductible. Okay? So, you know, so we've got all of these people in the middle. Now, again, there is some value in that. I mean, anything, as I put in my brief executive summary here, a short-term solution to the, you know, the claims. I mean, a claim is a claim is a claim. Blue Cross, United Healthcare, it doesn't matter where it is. Claim's a claim. Short-term solutions are making some benefit changes, which the board has been willing to do over the last few years, but that's only a temporary solution, okay? Because prices keep going up. Physician charges, hospital charges, prescription drugs. So, but any benefit change that you would implement, it's going to help the health plan somehow.
Mickey, you see a point in time where we're not going to be able to continue to be self-insured?
I mean, that's a good question. I think the risk that you run there, I mean, is going back to what I was just saying, a claim is a claim is a claim. If you're fully insured, and this is the way I express to people, if you get a 12% increase on a fully insured quote, you know, you got to come up with an additional $60, $70, $80 employee a month. I mean, our reinsurance premiums are going up, what, $3, $4.78, okay? And if they're wrong, it's going to benefit the county. If Blue Cross or United is wrong on fully insured, it's going to benefit them. So, I mean, I think that's the decision you have to make. It would be highly unusual. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I think it would be highly unusual for a group that has 550, you know, or so employees, plus you throw Region 8 in, so y'all have 750 to 800. be highly unusual for y'all to be fully insured. But, you know, that's something we can look at.
No, I mean, I'm sure if we were, I would imagine our employees would be paying.
Look,
Yes.
their dependent premiums would go through the roof, and you have no say. You know, y'all have all the say right now. I mean, we're talking back and forth. I mean, some things are set in stone, but what you want to charge your employees, what you want to do with benefits, what you want to do with funding the plan, I mean, that's y'all's decision.
So we need to make some adjustments this year?
You know, I will tell you that at this point in time, $1,000 deductible in the marketplace, generally speaking, is very low. At a minimum, I mean, you know, you got three options, none of them necessarily what you want to hear, but you make some benefit adjustments. You increase funding through either the county and or the employee. And Laura was very specific about that didn't really want to be an option if at all possible, or you do a combination of those two things, change benefits and increase premiums. So, you know, I would say that a $1,500 and I would even say maybe a $2,000 deductible is not out of line with what the market is. And I work with several municipalities, and none of them have $1,000 deductibles.
Is that going to save us any money though?
It's moving money. I mean, it's taking liability away from the county and putting it on the employee. And, you know, I mean, if you went, there's really no way to know this in the data that I have access to. But in theory, if you've got whatever the number was I told you earlier that had met their $1,000 deductible this year, it's highly probable that some of them would have gone on and hit a $2,000 deductible. So, you know, if it's 100 of those people or whatever the number is, I mean, that's $100,000.
What is the average for deductible now for a family?
Well, that's a good question, and you'd actually probably be very surprised. There's it's on the Kaiser Family Foundation. They do a survey every year, and they break it down geographically, and then to some extent they even break it down by industry. And you know, for a plan similar to y'all's, Jay, it's probably in the neighborhood of $2,000.
What about prescription drug adjustments as far as the deductibles? It's $400 a year for the name brand, is that right?
It's $100. It's $100.
Deductible is $100, and then you go into our 4-tier plan.
Right, and Mr. President, that it's $100 deductible, but if one of your employees selects a generic, the deductible's waived. So we're trying to steer people to generics. But you know, and I'm sorry, let me find that number real quick, or I don't know if I have that number.
We made that change last year, right?
That was two or 3 years ago when we did that. Yeah, it may have been 3 years ago.
Bob. Time flies, man.
It does.
I mean, look, anytime you making a change like that, it's moving money, it's moving county money out of your employee into your employees. And look, I take an entirely different approach at looking at this. I mean, I understand y'all have to look at it the way you look at it, and I get that. But with that being said, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that people who are actually utilizing the insurance are asked to contribute a little bit more if it means a higher deductible or whatever the case may be, okay? I mean, that's just somebody, I mean, I think that is the biggest mistake. It is the biggest mistake that most employers make, is over-insuring their population. Having a deductible that's too low, when if you know, I mean, as I just pointed out, 60-some-odd% of your people have had zero apply to your deductible this year. You could change to a $5,000 deductible, and it's not going to impact 2/3 of your employees. Right. Okay, so the question is, are you willing to? I mean, and look, I know it's a tough decision for you guys, but are you willing to pass along either a premium increase, or would you rather just say, we're going to ask the people who use the insurance to pay a little bit more out of their pocket by increasing their deductible? I mean, premium increase affects everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you increase the deductible, is that going to affect the, how's that going to affect what would they have to pay? Or what Well, yeah, basically what they have to pay.
Yes, it didn't, I mean, it would,
Huh?
All the way.
No, I'm saying if you increase the deductible to 5,000, is that gonna, or let's say,
well, I just threw that number out. I don't want us to go that
all
far.
right, well, I'm just saying to something, is that gonna, still, is it gonna increase what they have to pay?
It's gonna increase their out-of-pocket, but again, it's.
Well, the purpose of,
You're talking about the premium side.
yeah,
If you increase the deductible, we will gain on the premium. We would have to pass that along to them if there was any.
but usually
really-
when you have a higher deductible, you
I
have
know,
less premium.
But the part the county pays
Okay.
would be less, that we then might could turn around and pass a little reduction. My way I feel about it, that 30 whatever percent, 30 to 40% that are having health problems probably don't make more than about $30,000 a year. And they're already hurt pretty bad if they are past the deductible and they are eligible for food stamps, and we can't pay what we would like to pay them. The last thing I want to do is put more on that person that's sick or had an accident and can't work. And I understand dollars, I mean, we
Yeah.
gotta pay it, but that is one of the utilities of being a county employee in Rankin County is our insurance. That's why we have the best people on the road. That's why we have the best sheriff's department. That's why we have great people that work for less money.
And Mr. Gaines, I do not disagree with anything you just said. But, I mean, and I don't,
And those people
I'm not trying to
that
be
are- those people that are above that 30 whatever percent that are not meeting the deductible, I applaud them. But I guarantee you, if you look over 5 years, they're gonna be into that deductible at some point. They may not have this year or last year, but they're gonna be in that deductible
right.
in a 5 year.
But-
So we're really talking about all of them.
And I don't, again, I don't disagree, and I understand that that's the thinking, and it's been that thinking since I started working with the county in 2007, 2008. And I don't mean this in a smart aleck sort of way, but you don't drive a Mercedes-Benz on a
I
Ford
understand.
budget.
We gotta pay
okay?
for it.
So you gotta find what you're willing to do. I mean, you know, the county administrator and I spend a lot of time, you know, because quite frankly, and kind of to Jared's point, I mean, the current premiums that are being charged, I mean, they're not sufficient to fully fund the plan. So to Jared's point, I mean, I would say that you probably need to increase your deductible and just leave the premiums where they are to kind of, again, take a little bit of burden off the county. But I mean, that's y'all's call. That's y'all's call.
Yeah, how much of a impact will it be if we do nothing?
Do nothing.
Yeah.
Stay right where we're at.
There's, you know, I mean, on that flip side of that, I mean, y'all's claims are very, very, very consistent. If you look at that, on this side of what I just handed out to you guys, you know, I mean, your claims are running $330, $340 per member per month. You're very, very, very consistent. It has jumped pretty substantially through the first 10 months of this year, but, you know, y'all's plan has always been consistent. So I guess what I'm saying that to say that other than the fact that you potentially have an additional $250,000 that you're gonna have to pick up.
Right.
I don't think your deficit for 2019, if I'll use that term loosely, but your deficit for 2019 is gonna be substantially more than it is, you know, if you don't do a thing, okay?
Gotcha.
But
Have you done any analysis, Laura, about as far as the drug side, prescription drug, adjusting that deductible up some? I mean, you made the comment last year or 2 years ago, we're more prescription drug induced society in this county as opposed to, you know, normal healthcare issues, you know.
Well,
Did I say that right?
You're right. You're right on point. You currently have the, I think we've changed your copays. All right, you already have the highest copays that Blue Cross administers standardly. You can certainly increase those, but again, I mean, that's kind of going to go back to Mr. Gaines's point. You know, I mean, look, I personally, and as a former underwriter, don't have a problem if you want to take those category 2, 3, and 4 copays and double them, okay? But the person that goes to get one of those Category 4 drugs filled, and it's currently maybe paying $100, all of a sudden it's $200. And I can assure you, I don't know who in this room it's going to be, but somebody's going to be getting a phone call, and ultimately it's going to come back to you. Now, again, as an underwriter, I like the way you're thinking. I'm fine with that. But
I
be
just call
prepared for some
myself
phone
and
calls.
complain, because I'll be one of those that's going to admit. But yeah, I don't know. I see that as a, I don't know. I mean, it's just some tough decisions.
There's nothing easy about it. Yes, sir.
That's what we get paid the big bucks for, right? When does a decision need to be made on our part today?
Is there anything in the,
you
that you can
for?
see in the future after we figure out what our Congress is gonna look like, that healthcare may move some? Is there anything that you can forecast? Because they're all, I mean, that's the big buzzword right now.
Correct. Well,
that might help us.
Yes, the thing that might help y'all and every other employer out there is if things continue to go the way they are, we're not going to have group health plans probably in the next 6 to 10 years. That would be my personal opinion. Don't go to the bank on that, because there's a big push just to move to a socialized medicine type program. That's Medicare for all. I mean, that's the buzzword, and we're just a couple of elections away from possibly being there. But again, I'm editorializing now, but I mean, that's the direction that a lot of people want to go. The only thing that could be of some help to the county, let me back up on that, is, as I told you, I mean, the president is looking at, doing something about these pharmacy prices, okay? I mean, and that is I can't even begin to emphasize how big of a problem that is, not just for y'all, but everyone.
I don't see that raising the deductible gets us anywhere. I kind of agree with Steve, too, from the standpoint of where our average income is for an employee and having to do that. And I guess that still applies for the drug side, too, for those that are hitting those 2, 3s, and 4 classifications, too. They're in the same boat. So, I mean,
if we increase the premiums, the people that aren't using it are going to have to pay for the people that are, So, I mean, there's a trade-off there. Personally, I would rather go, if we do anything, go up on the deductible rather than it go up on premiums.
Which
that way, the
deductible,
person
both?
who's actually
Prescription
using
drug
it,
and regular, or just out-of-pocket?
Out-of-pocket, annual. But personally, I mean, I would like to stay where we are this year.
Why did you say
so
all
that
of
we
that?
could prepare.
I was fixing to say the same thing. I
What?
just didn't say
I would rather do this than that, and I like this. Well, personally, I'd rather stay.
No, I think eventually we're going to have to do something.
I do too. I do.
So
I see
got
it. I mean, I'm not.
Steve and Jared are great where we are today. One more?
Yes.
All right, I think we're good, Mickey. I think we're going to stay where we are, looks like, for the next calendar year.
2019.
We will have to.
It's got to be looked at.
And
we're going to do something next year.
I really think if the taxpayers of Rankin County were fully educated and they see that guy working in their ditch, on their culvert, or this drainage, or a deputy sheriff, and they put themselves in their place, they would say, I'll pay $5 more a year in taxes to let them have that insurance. I think that would be a lot easier for them to swallow than us building a new road, really. But we need to educate them. I mean, people.
Well, I'll be glad to help in any way I can.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mickey, we appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. All right, is there a motion to approve or to renew?
Leave it like it is.
So moved.
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you. C, Ms. Oster.
Accept the consumer price index calculations effective October 1, 2018, and this is for our residential collection, our disposal and transfer station. It's a 1.70%. Our household will increase by 0.19 per unit. The disposal rate will be 0.35 per ton, and transfer will be 0.46 per ton.
Motion by myself to approve, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Anything else, Ms. Oster, before I move on to additional business? Moving on to additional business, Mr. Word. Why don't we go ahead and do that, and do y'all want to, since he's up there, is the second one for you too? The statewide
Yes, sir.
mutual aid?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, just stay up there then, Mr. Word. We'll just keep on from there. Go ahead, I'm
All
sorry.
right, two really quick things on item A. After the two previous conversations, we'll shift gears, and this is going to be income coming into the county, not expenses going out. So this is just approval for President Morrow to sign the EMPG, the Emergency Management Performance Grant, for the upcoming year. That brings in, on average, about $104,000 a year to the EOC.
Yeah, I'll make a
Motion
motion to
approved.
approve. Yeah.
Motion, Mr. Cross, second, Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. B, please, sir.
Item B is to, again, authority to sign the SMAC agreement. That's a statewide mutual aid compact. And really, truly, this is really for Mr. Slay over there. This is talking about the legalities of when we go and come across the state of Mississippi for a statewide disaster. If we were to go help DeSoto County or somewhere on the coast, or if they were to come here, who's going to pay for what, this, that, and the other? So this is really, the SMAC agreement is truly a legal item for Mr. Slay. So at no cost, by the way.
See any reason not to approve?
Motion to approve by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Do we want to have the discussion on the Pelahatchie fire truck?
I have some additional business too.
Do we or not, Steve? The Pelahatchie fire. Brett had sent an email out concerning a housing situation for the truck.
Well, I talked to Brett. The only thing they were asking is to be able to spend their money. We're not actually spending any money.
And maybe some help from Brian's trustees or something. Well, maybe Brett needs.
Do we have
Hold up,
trustees
Brett,
to
tell
give
what's
them?
going on.
I don't know. I don't know that.
Yeah, what?
Help from trustees.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Brian had to answer that one.
Morning.
Morning.
Just real quick, got a phone call from the fire chief of Pelahatchie. We give them it used to be called rebate money, but now it's just money out of general fund. So we give them that money. Basically, all that was just an information letter to y'all or an email to y'all letting y'all know, hey, they've requested to spend this money that y'all have already given them. Is it okay?
It's their money anyway.
Right, it's their money. Does anybody have a problem with that?
No. Well, the way your email was, I thought it was like we were being asked to fund it.
That's right, I am too. That's why I kind of picked up.
The money that we give them, because we now give them the avails of tax levy, and we keep the rebate money on our side, because it has the strings attached to it, they can do whatever they want to with their funds.
Yeah, okay.
I understood it. I just thought it was also they may ask to use some trustees.
They are going to ask to, if it's okay if they use some trustees to just, make it a lot cheaper. But that's all it was.
I
Just
don't
more or
even know
less.
if we have a construction crew anymore. Do we, Brian?
I would go.
We have to set up a couple roadblocks, maybe we can get something.
I mean, I don't. We used to have a construction crew, but we haven't in years since the man retired.
Well, the road department used to have a construction department. That was road crew.
Right,
did.
exactly.
That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bud.
those people.
Yeah, I just put the trustee deal back on the
That's-
sheriff.
I just-
Whatever the
if
sheriff
he
thinks
can
on it,
afford
the
it,
sheriff can do
I
it.
mean, he's got.
Well, I just knew in the past. I mean, it had to be
If the
brought
sheriff
up
can do
and,
it,
and asked if we could use
If you can do it,
trustees.
great. If you can't, then
Yeah.
What it is,
Like
yeah.
a metal bill, like putting the steel up.
I don't know.
I don't know.
They said, they thought more like temporary.
Yeah, it's a temporary, basically housing is what it is for the fire truck. The old
Like a
county
pole
barn in
building, maybe.
Pelahatchie, they're going to basically construct a single bay door just to house a fire truck.
So we're talking about wood, teak?
Wood and teak.
All right. Okay. So we don't have
How
to
much,
take it out.
real quick, how much area does Pelahatchie fire cover outside of Pelahatchie?
A very good bit.
Big portion?
Good bit. They make as many calls outside the city as they do inside the city. They have for the last 2 years. Over 100 each year.
Okay, I'm good. Anything else for
Brett?
the issue?
No.
No.
Brett, we appreciate it. Thank you.
I have one
All right,
thing,
Mr.
I got one
Morrison.
thing, I know y'all saw some emails or whatever. Do we need to, on the, Purple Heart parking, do we need to make that official? To make, I
Brian
think it's a
designated the
great
places.
thing. Brian and I both were at Richland the other day, at the Veterans Memorial, and Richland unveiled that. They had a parking spot painted out there. They're gonna do some more detail on it. Obviously, the weather didn't allow that. It's just a nice sign. They're gonna strictly enforce it to them, as they said at the, city leaders did. But anyway, I just thought it was really good. They're doing one there, and they're doing one at the, what was it, library?
The library, I'm doing one library, city hall, community room, and then one business.
Uh-huh, right.
You gotta have a tag on the car for it to be legit?
Yes, you gotta have that purple heart tag.
Yep.
That's right.
And it's just, like I said, I think it was just a great gesture. It went over real well.
You said they're gonna enforce it, they're gonna let them ticket, they're gonna take somebody a ticket if they
I don't
park
know
there
what they're gonna do.
illegally?
There's a criminal law that can be enforced, but hopefully just, honoring that person.
Embarrass them?
Yeah, but I mean, I thought it'd be great for the county, and then I'm glad Brian brought it up.
I think
On different
this will be
locations.
brought up for purposes of making the community aware that, that this board and the sheriff, wish to, honor
Sure.
our injured veterans.
Right.
The sheriff has security jurisdiction over all of the county properties anyway, and it really falls under his jurisdiction. I don't know that it's necessary for you guys.
Okay.
I think it would be good form for y'all to acknowledge that it's gonna be done and give your approval on the record. No harm in that. I just don't think that it's necessary.
Okay, well, I just thought about it. I just wanted to, I'm definitely for it, so.
How do y'all feel about like one at this building, one at the courthouse?
Yes.
And maybe one at the sheriff's office, then when we get to the courthouse, maybe one over there?
Yeah, sounds good.
Something else I just thought about we need to do, when we get together, we need to do a ribbon cutting on that dog park this one. Livestock.
Yeah.
Probably do one could you do one at the tornado shelter too?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, no, cause you got fair amount of retail trade out there, not retail, but. All right, anything else for additional business?
I do.
Yes.
I have one, item to add, and that would be, so the approval to advertise for a county depository, that would be up for the first meeting in January. We do it every 2 years.
Motion by myself to add that to the agenda. Second, Mr. Cross. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve by myself. Second, Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next, Mr. Slade.
The city of Florence, through its board attorney, has communicated to the county, to the board of supervisors through me, that they would like for the county to consider allowing the city of Florence, through the residents of the city of Florence, through an interlocal agreement with the county, to come under our waste management procedures and policies. In other words, allow waste management to provide garbage collection to the residents of the city of Florence as a part of the county contract. That would be done by virtue of an interlocal agreement. We're not at a point at this time to formalize that. I'm just making you aware that the request has been made. I spoke to David Holloway. David says it won't be a problem at all for waste management to do that.
I thought that they were under the program with the other cities, Pearl and Brandon, Flowood.
I think they have an independent
No,
setup.
they weren't.
Yeah.
They had gone with another, they advertised and went with another company, and it came back around. They've talked to me about it.
Bit them in the butt.
Huh?
Bit them in the butt.
Well, it's just not as smooth. And it just be, I mean, they're already there. I mean, and really it's kind of hard sometimes to even figure where you cross the lines. So,
Before we start working on logistics and trying to get documents and all that other kind of stuff in place, I needed to make sure that you guys were aware of the request, number one, and that nobody had any significant heartburn.
Well, how are they going to keep up with their tonnage to be separate?
They've done, this is for
They've done it
residential
before.
collection. I don't know that it's gonna be
We
right.
have a community that's already under us that y'all pull out and bill separately.
Correct,
So that's
yes.
the way that we do
The
it.
trucks would be, they'd go across our scales and they'd have a certain card, and that truck would just run that city and stay
Yeah.
inside the city limits.
Okay.
And when he comes across the scale, he'll swipe the card and it'll register. to
So
the-
that's how we'll get the tonnage that it'll come
It's
off.
that tonnage that's coming off of just them.
All right. Okay. All right.
So does anybody have any issues with us proceeding, indicating back, yes, let's go ahead and start talking? All right. Okay.
I got one thing for additional business.
I got one thing I forgot to mention. I just like to know, Ms. Slay, I think I can speak for the board. We appreciate you, stepping out there and be willing to help with this, Purple Heart
Yes, sir.
painting and everything, and, I think y'all all realize that, but I don't think anybody else did, but anyway, I just want to thank you. Thank you for that.
It'd be a great honor.
Ms. Cross?
Yeah, my issue is dealing with Pine Brook subdivision off Heward Boulevard.
That's your problem, not ours, just kind of deal with
It's
it.
falling on all our backs. One of the things that we've got, we noticed again, we've had their residents come in and speak to us before. We had additional flooding last week. The problem we've got into now is we're having street failure over in the Pine Brook subdivision where the water's fully encompassing the road. What happens when we get a significant amount of rain, this happens probably 4 to 5 times a year, is our roadways become impassable to where we have to shut the roads down. The sheriff is extremely gracious and immediately to respond with his larger trucks, his MRAT, also the deuce and a half he brings over for that area to get people access to the back section of that subdivision. It totally blocks the roads. I have 50 to 60 homes that are in that back area that I cannot get emergency response vehicle back to without the sheriff's assistance. So I need some type of approval to go about with Mike and Mr. Parker's group to design us some kind of plan to get this water off these roadways. Our neighborhoods are shut down in that area when I get these rains.
We got that all over the county.
The water.
You got areas where you can't get to?
You daggum right.
You got subdivisions?
Well, I'm talking about people.
Well, I understand, but I've got
I'm just
subdivisions.
talking about people.
All right, so let's get those out there.
We got them all over the county.
I got you. So let's get them out there.
Well,
But
look, I think
water is
that personally, I would like for us to source some income, you know, before we go start paying for these additional studies that we're already deep into one.
Right.
You know, we need to figure out how we're gonna pay for this.
Yeah.
Before, and it doesn't, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to start another study if we don't know what we're willing to spend on it.
Right, and Mike and Tim have gone out and looked at this on numerous occasions. The problem we've got right now, if you have somebody in the back of this subdivision, in the back of Pine Brook, that has some kind of medical emergency, you can't get help to them. Unless the sheriff's crew gets there. So by saying that, this is critical that we get some type of action taken in this area to clear the roadways where we can get into it.
I understand and agree with you, but I don't know.
The secondary part to that is you're fixing to lose the roadway. And then when that happens, I mean, I'll let them tell us how much that costs to get it out there. But there needs to be some kind of plan moving down the line on how to keep the water off this road where we can get people passable to it. I mean, it's a critical thing.
What's the drainage? Where does it run?
It runs into a creek that runs back in behind it, but the creek fills up from the water coming in from across the boulevard. So there is no drainage from Pine Brook.
But the problem is that creek is grown up all the way out to where the soccer fields are. So we need to start from soccer and work our way back up.
From the soccer fields.
Yeah.
But we can't,
The creek's
we
from the
can't get
soccer
on that
field.
land. That's the problem.
Which creek you talking about?
The one that comes out where the soccer fields are, behind Oak Grove subdivision.
That's not where this comes from.
All of that comes across the road. All of it comes down and crosses Old Fannin Road.
Yeah, but the creek didn't run from the soccer fields. You're talking about all the water from Old Fannin Road that comes in there?
Everything goes that way.
Avalon, Farmington Station, all that crew heads that direction.
Yes.
Right. Well, so the problem is, again, this had to be missed, I guess, when it was designed, whenever the subdivision was approved.
Well, you know, exactly. We approved all these and, you know, they wasn't supposed to flood, you know, whenever we got them approved.
Let's go after some engineers.
But when you have, so I mean, this was all approved in another era that I wasn't a part of. The problem is now, I've got multiple houses, probably 50 of them.
I understand.
That you can't get out of, you're trapped.
And it's a terrible situation, something we need
I'm
to
serious
address.
about the engineers.
But I don't know what we're gonna, we can't go open up a ditch from creek down there.
But we do need to, though. That's just it. We do need to do that.
We do need to do that. That's exactly part of the problem. But I think it's a multi-phase problem. What I think we have to do, though, is we have to get out there and look at it and figure out what's going on, get a plan to come back to redesign how we get the water off these roadways. We're charged with protecting the roadways. I think we're charged even at protecting the people that live on them, but if you don't agree with that, I understand, but we have to do something to get the water off this roadway in Pine Brook. We have to. I mean, just, the moment we can't get back to someone, then I mean, that's just somewhere you gotta put your head on the pillow at night.
No,
What I wanna be able,
I agree with you.
What I wanna be able to do is have Mike, Mr. Parker's group, at least come back to the board, along with Slade, to figure out what legalities we have on operating to get this water off these roads.
How much is private property? After you leave the roadway, basically all of it is. And you're going down through private property.
Probably so.
And that's
yeah.
what we can't do.
But the problem, but what we can do is we can't get the water off our streets.
Well, not if we can't, not if it means we gotta go all down to this private property, cleaning out ditch down through there.
I think you're wrong. I think we can, if we get, you don't
If
think,
we do
you
that,
don't think
then
we
we
have the
open it.
authority to get the water off the roadways?
Yes, if it's not like rains that come and we can't control that, the man
I
above
understand.
controlling
I
that, we
understand.
can't fix it for him.
I understand that, but we shouldn't have an entire street blocked.
But we can't go down and open up a ditch or a creek from here to wherever
If
it
we
goes
got
to
5 to
open that
6
up.
feet of water, shutting a roadway down, completely over, mailbox high, you don't think we got
Oh,
the authority to get that up?
Not to go down on that private.
I disagree. I think we do.
The law will, I think,
Well,
say not.
so what I would like to happen, I disagree with you. What I'd like to happen is at least have our engineer crew, our road crew, our attorney go look at it and tell us what we can do to come up with a plan. We can't block access to the subdivision.
I think we have a good idea what needs to be done.
Yep.
You know, so that's why I don't know why we need to do a study since we already know.
Well, I don't know if you want to call it a study. I need an emergency plan to clear that neighborhood where we can get back to those people.
And Tim and Mike and Craig could go out there and spend 2 hours, 3 hours, and come back and say,
Here's what we
Craig
do.
might say, guys, we can't do it. Because, or he might say it is this. Could we just limit it to something like that, to tell us that it is something, or it is illegal for us?
We do have a kind of a pretty simple plan to look at this and not go into a lot of money and stuff like that. I just need to get authorization from y'all to get Craig to do a little bit of legal work and Tim and them to do a little bit of surveying.
See, we got a situation and.
Well, we got to know some elevations in there on some.
Creek, and all that creek is right
On
there.
this retention
All that
pond
creek
type
is-
deal.
Is a private
Can we
property.
just do a
The
preliminary
neighborhood thinks
first
if
to
we
see,
clean
can
the
you
creek, which
give
is
us an
not our
idea?
creek.
Is it something
But
that's
it's no
legal
stopping
that
it.
we
You
can
just
do?
keep on cleaning it. Well,
I
then,
was
so I
actually
mean, there's no stopping.
I agree with you on the private property side.
No,
But I think
what I'm
this is
saying,
the-
this is the roads,
looking at
this is
one of
the
our
same thing we're talking
supervisors'
about.
issues,
And
since we
they
definitely ran
hound
over and
me
took a quick
about
peek
that.
at
I've
this.
been to meetings,
So we, in a
same
way, we've
situation.
already eyeballed.
That's not our creek,
But that's about
but
as
think
much
about,
as
they
we'll
think,
say.
they think we can just clean this part, fine, but you gotta keep on
It looks
cleaning.
like there's a solution that would not be, a significant cost. It looks like there is a solution there. Literally, there are areas where we've got too much collected water leaving retention areas.